Earground. New voices amplified. Earground. Earground. Keep your ears on the ground.
Hello and welcome to Earground New Voices Amplified. This is a brand new show. It's called Culture Pot. This is where we get to speak to all the people, the institutions that are working behind the scenes to make things happen. So it's basically a pot where all the big ship, dock and connect and pass on, the different information, different opportunities to the creative and the cultural industry in Zimbabwe. Basically, the cultural drivers in the country of Zimbabwe. And I'm going to be speaking to our first guest, who happened to be a good comrade of mine. He's the coach. He's a let me take from the top. Program lead, right? Cool.
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Okay, cool. So I'll leave that.
You can just say
cool. Okay. Hello and welcome to Earground New Voice Amplifier. My name is Plot Marco and welcome to the platform that speaks to creatives, but not only creatives, but also people that are driving the creative and the cultural industry in Zimbabwe. And we're just introducing a new show called Culture Pot. This is where all the big ship dock and they pass on the information to the different creatives that may be interested. But we're going to be talking about the successes, the achievements, the challenges, the opportunities that the cultural institutions that are working within the space of Zimbabwe present. And our first guest is a good comrade of mine, Munya Bloggo, who is an amazing creative, a game changer of our generation. Munya, welcome to Earground.
Thank you, Plot. Hey, game changer.
Yeah, man, you've been doing quite a lot of work and amazing. I'm inspired by the moves that you're making, but also the institution that you're working with, Magamba, and the work that you guys are doing collectively. Congratulations. You guys just opened the Moto studio. That's another milestone.
Yeah, it's an exciting space. I mean, I think we had originally planned to open that like two years ago, but then COVID hit and the series of delays. But now that we're out of COVID, we managed to wrap things up and to push it forward, and here we are.
Wow, here we are. But I'm gonna take you to where it was started. Like for you, I mean, as Munya. Briefly, your introduction to people that are watching that would want to know who's Munya and what do you do at Magamba?
Okay, so Munya is the Digital X program lead at Magamba. So Magamba runs two programs, one called Digital X and the other one called Arts for Change. So I lead the Digital X program. The Digital X program, if you're familiar with Magamba, it's probably all the old Magamba stuff. So it's your Shoko Festival, Moto Republik Hub, Magamba TV, the Feed ZW, Open Party, and then this new stuff that we're trying to do, the tech stuff. Yeah, that's essentially, those are the platforms that I oversee. And then I have a wonderful team that I work with a bunch of creatives. And then we also recently just opened Studio Moto, so partially overseeing the production guys who are now based at Studio Moto. So yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Wow, amazing. But in a nutshell, how do you describe the work that is done by Magamba Cultural Activist Network? We used to know it as organizers of Shoko Festival, but now you've got a whole lot of activities happening.
So I think I'll describe it as we work at the nexus of, creative arts, activism, tech, and media. Where those things intersect, that's where you'll find us, because I think they are all interrelated. They're all part of youth culture. You can't talk about young people without talking about tech. You can't talk about young people without talking about media, and you can't talk about young people without talking about the arts sector. So it's everything is interrelated, and that's where you find us.
Wow. And it's 15 years now that Magamba has been running.
Yeah.
looking back, what would you regard as some of the major milestones that Magamba has made? For most people, Shoko Festival has been sort of the flagship. But from you, what would you consider as some of the major milestones that Magamba has made?
I think for looking back as someone who wasn't originally part of Magamba, who joined later on, I think the first major milestone was they started off as an event at Book Cafe. So you find that the most of the DNA around Magamba is similar to what the vibe or the experiences of those people who were at Book Cafe. So there's a lot of Book Cafe culture, of giving spaces to young people and like letting them stand on your shoulders and, curating events and just being artistic and expressing yourself and allowing people to have that freedom of expression. So the first milestone was creating those spaces and creating the Mashoko platform that started off at Book Cafe. That was very important because it allowed a lot of people to have platforms, to have the voice, a lot of poets and a lot of musicians came out of that. So that was a huge milestone. And I think the consistency of Shoko Festival over the years, like the festival culture in Zim has gone through many cycles and ups and downs. But for us, being able to do Shoko Festival every year is quite an achievement. And it's on because whether there's money or there's no money, we will make it happen, whether it's a big festival or sometimes we have to scale it down, but we understand that it's necessary for it to happen. So we would pull every string and do everything that we can to make sure that at least we have that platform that young people can be part of. So the consistency of Shoko Festival, that's a huge milestone. And I think from that, where we are now, Moto Republik, that's something that's kind of become, I think, a central part of Harare's landscape, artistic scene. Moto Republik is a co-working space. It's a creative hub, so you have a lot of startups that work from here, a lot of creatives that use the space as well. But when we reopened it up after COVID, it kind of took on a new life form because we couldn't come for like 2 years to work from here. But then when we opened up again, there was like a lot of energy, a lot of pent-up creative stuff that was there. And I think this year we're doing more than we've ever done before. Like we almost have tripled the number of events that we do. Normally we just do a hustlers market, which is like standard. It's become part of like, its own culture. It's got its own following. We've done it for over 4 years now, and it's become standard. But this year, we've added a lot of new events and allowed a lot of young people to come through to Moto Republik as well, to curate their own events and have the same space to stand on our shoulders as well. So that is a huge milestone for us because we are literally, like I said, almost in a way, taking that culture that we learned from Book Cafe and passing the baton on to new initiatives that are coming through and allowing them to be the new Magambas.
Great.
So going forward. So I think those are the biggest milestones.
Wow. From what you said, there are two things that stuck out for me. Defiance. You mentioned that the festival, despite any challenges every year, you make sure that the festival happens, which has been quite impressive given the macroeconomic situation in Zimbabwe. But also you speak loudly about freedom of expression, which ties in again to that defiance because Shoko Festival, has been at the forefront of promoting a lot of free expression through music, satire, and a lot of artistic disciplines. But when you look back, say about 5 years, do you see that space having improved? Do you see the liberties around free expression having improved, or we are actually on the way backwards?
I think, do I see? That's a very interesting question. I think we had some moments where we had a honeymoon moment in this last five. We had a honeymoon moment in these last 5 years where we had hoped, where we had hoped that that the space would improve. But I think we are retrogressing. I think as we go towards elections, the space always, the civic space always closes, and it's unfortunate because everything then starts to be seen through the eyes of politics. But the vibrancy of the artists themselves and the resilience of the artists is phenomenal. And I think one thing that has happened was that during COVID, a lot of artists then realized the importance of the digital space and migrate quickly, the migration to using digital platforms and using social media, live streaming. I mean, what kept us going throughout the pandemic was the art space. What kept us from going mad was the artists and doing the live streams and, at home, while we were at home. So in that sense, the space has changed and we can't go back to where we were. We've progressed. We are now like digital. So in that sense, yes. In another sense, the environment, the political environment is very stifling. And then you have institutions that should be doing stuff that are not doing stuff. And then you have spaces, you have people, ordinary young Zimbabweans who are creating their own spaces without necessarily the support of government or the institutions that are supposed to be helping them. And I speak boldly about the work that the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture is supposed to be doing. And we do not see them on the streets. We do not see them participating in fostering culture and enabling spaces that are there to progress. In a different country, in other countries, like in South Africa, and other progressive countries, the stuff that Shoko Festival, Haifa, Intwasa, all these festivals, Chivilika, all these festivals would be supported to a great deal by government grants and government institutions and subsidized. But in Zimbabwe, you don't get that. Like you just get the one or two events that are like cultural, maybe Jikinya Dance Festival that is supported by National Arts Council. And then everyone else has to find their own space, has to find money from somewhere, from corporates and stuff, which is okay, we're doing it, but then the same space that we have created for ourselves, that we have worked very hard to create and to develop and to sustain, is the same space that then when we have elections, where then, or when there's laws that start being introduced, like the PBO bill, which now are to constrain the same civic space that we've created. And we're like, but you're not even talking to us to begin with. You're not even consulting us. You're not even assisting us to begin with. And then here we are having these laws being proposed that are very restrictive, that are like just about regulation. They're more about regulation and not about promotion. And I think if we had that conversation more, like every government regulates stuff, but he regulates what you contribute to, you regulate what you promote. And if you just about regulation, you are going to get pushback because we just like, but we don't see you doing any promotion. We're not seeing you engaging us or talking to us or finding out what we want or what our challenges are or solving the challenges that we have. So that's where we are now, I think, in the last 5 years.
It's quite interesting.
A lot of regulation.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much because you also touched on my second part of the question. I actually wanted to ask about the PVO bill and how it's affecting or it's going to impact the work. The work Magamba has been doing has made quite a lot of impact, has opened doors. I've had artists across the board making reference that, I got my breakthrough from performing at Shoko Festival. I got my breakthrough at Voice to Rap. I had my breakthrough at the different initiatives, even the Hustlers Market. Now I see some DJs that are coming there when they were not known. Now they are performing and doing like big club circuits, which is quite disruptive, from the way that I see it. But what opportunities does Magamba offer or present to the youth, especially, the creatives?
Okay, so besides, like I said, with Moto Republik, we offer a co-working space for young people. If you're running a startup, most startups, you start in your bedroom, you have your own laptop, but now there's some challenges, so maybe so you can come and work from Moto Republik. You pay a subscription fee for the time that you come and use. You can work from here, you can share the boardroom, you can organize your events, you can use the workshop room. Currently, we're having an influx of young people who are just coming through and saying, I've got this idea for an event. How can you guys assist me? And we're trying different models. You come through, we're like, oh, okay, you can host your event. What are you charging, or is it free? How does it contribute to the broader ecosystem? If you're charging at the gate, okay, we'll cover these costs, but when you in your gate takings, that's when we'll split the funds. But there's different models. Some we just assist because it's like we're like, oh, that's a cool idea. That's no one else is doing that. So let's experiment. So we're really about experimenting with new sounds, new spaces, new initiatives, because we also realize that there's a lot of replication around what is happening in Harare, and people want different stuff. A hustlers market is one thing, but then there's also the 808 DJs that Presso is doing. That's a different vibe. So we're like, oh, we like Presso, we like what you're doing. Come through. We've got like the mashup nights that Munya started. I think he's about to do his 3rd edition. And I mean, we like the mashups because we have mashup nights at Shoko Festival. So when he came up with that idea, yeah. So we're like, yeah, definitely come through, do mashups, because while he's doing his stuff, we're also like seeing what new artists are trying to do. And then in a way, you're getting a chance to practice your stuff and to rehearse and to have stage presence and to learn how to perform. And then by the time we get to Shoko Festival, you've cultivated an audience. You have good stage presence. And I think one of the people that I'm very proud of the most is like Do Major. Do Major came through. He came to one of the Batamike rap battles.
Yes.
He didn't win the first one. He lost in the finals. He came back. He won the virtual one. And then at Hustlers Market, he'll just come through, perform, hang out, network. And then, through that, you build a relationship. He built a relationship with us. He built a relationship with other artists. Then they start doing the Shabin rap stuff. He meets doing with Dingo, and it's not like we are telling him what to do. We don't tell him. But I think the space, you come, you network with people, and then he ends up at Shoko. He ends up at doing a Shoko Festival. And we're like, we really like that sound, and you can tell that this Munya, how do we improve with each iteration, with each performance, he's getting better and better, and he's finding his sound, and he's like, becoming a better artist. And by the time we get to Shoko Festival, it's like, there's something happening with Shabin rap. What I mean, you can't help but feel energized by that. So I think for me, Do Major is one example. Like you can see, like look at the progression that he has done, and we really like to see a lot of that with the artists that we interact with. So besides that, the Moto Republik stuff that we do, like we've just opened up Studio Moto, so it has. And
what's the purpose? I mean, is it like I can just come through, record my rhythm, and do my Zoom dance and stuff there? Like, how different is it from any other studio that I know in Harare?
So it's not just an audio studio; it's both video and audio. So there's an audio component, and then there's a green screen studio, and then there's a white room, and then there's a podcast set. podcast section. So we do understand. So when we were thinking about it, we understand that, you know, even if you come and do your song, you're gonna want to shoot like maybe promotional material, maybe even take pictures, maybe shoot, you know, like a lyric video of some sort. So the idea is you shouldn't be restricted in the sense that okay, and I record a song who iFields, and then that one Mount Pleasant videographer Mount Pleasant.
Yes.
It should be like we're trying to create a space where you can come through with your producer or your friends. You can shoot, you can make music, and then you can move downstairs and then record your music video, or you can do it simultaneously, and then you walk out with your stuff. And you don't necessarily have to walk in with any equipment. You can just come with your talent. So I think we're trying to bridge the gap, because there are excuses that, you know, that we make for ourselves as artists to say, andina my studio,
yes,
oh, andina camera, andina access to this and that. So we started off with Moto Republik, like, okay, andina space and andina access to internet. Okay,
yeah,
there was Moto Republik. So now this is like a second phase in the way we want to take the projects. The artists come through, they can produce stuff, and they don't, not everyone needs to be recording in their bedroom, because I mean the sound quality also becomes questionable. But if you can come through, use a space where it's got the proper standard soundproofing and it's high quality, you can interact with other people. I think we can elevate the sound, and we can remove the excuses. Which record the room on a bedroom. Or that's not camera, that's not my microphone. You know what I mean? We can raise the bar a little bit higher, and I think we can take some of the underground artists and make them mainstream as we go forward.
Great. Some great work that you guys are doing there. But who is eligible to do projects or to work with Magamba Network, Moto, and all the initiatives? Like, how can one be? I'm a young person. I'm there in Mafuko, Tafara, or in Budiriro, and I'm watching. And every time I hear of Magamba, I'm seeing the lineup for Shoko Festival. The next time I'm hearing there's Hustlers Market, and I'm already seeing the promotional material, but I want to be involved. How can I be involved in one way or the other?
So I'll tell you, that's an interesting question, because the challenge that we always get is like when it's like towards Shoko Festival, when the promotional material is already coming out, that's when people are like, oh, how do I get on the lineup? But that's the last. Like when we're already doing that, we're already not in the mood to be looking for new artists, to be looking for new talent at all, like rollout mode. So the best time to be reaching out to platforms is way before the event comes through, and to network. So for Moto Republik, for example, for the co-working space, you can come through, and anyone is open to work from Moto Republik. The criteria is you have to be a creative. The stuff that you do has to contribute towards the community, the ecosystem that we're trying to build. So you can't come and say, I want to work from Moto Republik, but really start up your accounts. Okay, yes, but start up your accounts. Creatives. Or engineer. We're like, okay, but how does this contribute to the creative economy? So mainly you'll find that the startups that work from Moto Republik are doing something in the creative economy. So there's an animator, there's a videographer, there's someone who's doing poetry, there's Mildred who's doing lights, so we're trying to get different members of the creative economy to come together. They work from here, and from that, my collaborations
they also collaborate
start organic.
Okay.
They collaborate among themselves. We don't even have to have an event, but you're sitting next to you are a musician. You're sitting next to someone who does videography. The guy opposite you is a lighting expert, or you are into animation. You know what I mean? Like, you are bound to collaborate because you need your sound for a project, or you need a music video done. So you're like, you start trading skills. Okay, I'll do your sound. I'll do your sound for your project. If you do a music video for me, I'll do your graphic for your poster. If you do my lights, you know what I mean? Like, you start to trade skill sets, not necessarily money. So the excuse is antinamar, but sometimes you don't need the money. What you need is someone who can do something, and you trade each other's skill sets, and you build collateral that way. And to be honest, that's one of the most valuable things that we get out of Moto Republic, just being in the same space and allowing the creatives to come through and collaborate. So that's Moto Republic. And I think for Studio Moto, it's more inclined towards people who are doing video production and music. So if you're doing those two things, then you're eligible. But at the same time, it's not like you can't just say, I've got an album, so it's Royal Studio. Okay, yes. What's the plan? Okay, don't worry about it. Because there's a lot of artists who are very keen on, or who end up, they go to a studio, they record a song, phone, and then they're happy. But apana plan, how do I get to perform somewhere? How do I get my music out there? How do I broaden my scope? So we're not just interested in you coming to record your music. We're also interested in you plugging into the platforms that we've created, or our partners' platforms. We're interested in seeing an artist that's coming from Mavuku come and record, perform at Hustlers Market, perform at Shoko Festival, yes. And then we plug that artist into our festival network, and then they go to perform at Mafalala in Mozambique. We link them up with our friends in Zambia, where they go to a Modzi Arts Festival or something that's happening in it. You know what I mean? Like, it can't just be, like, what's the plan? Because your music is also a business. So if you just come to us and say, I want to record chats, it's not a proper plan of how you're trying to develop your art into something that's beyond just recording. Wow. So we're more interested in people with a plan. Yeah.
Well done. That's quite interesting there, because I mean it takes artists to the next level. But to close off Shoko Festival, I mean that is the biggest highlight for some of us as enthusiasts. Anything that we should look out for this year, or even the process registration? Like I've said, the artists that possibly want to be part, but they never get a chance because they always miss out on the information. When can they look out? Is there anything that we could look out for this year?
Yeah, definitely. So I think what has happened in the last couple of years, it was COVID. So we were restricted in the way that we could roll out certain things. So it took a virtual format. But this year, definitely expect a hybrid event. So we're definitely planning to do something bigger and better than what we've done in previous years. So we're in the planning stages right now, and I think artists can reach out with their links on social media. We do check the social media stuff, and we may not be able to respond to each and every one and give them like a personal one-on-one, but we do look out for that stuff, and there should be an announcement coming through in the next couple of weeks. So if people just look out for that. And then also, I think one of the most important things, like in the conversation that I have with artists, is like, okay, Shoko Festival happens once a year, and then so after Shoko or before Shoko, it can be a highlight, but it can also be very depressing. It can also be very depressing for an artist because you get hyped at this big event. And then in between that time, until the next Shoko, you're not anyway. You're not being seen anyway. You're not on any platform. So I think the most important thing, Shoko should be a highlight for an artist, but not, it shouldn't be like the end, the main ultimate. You should be like, okay, it should be like a springboard. Okay, springboard to do other things, but you should be doing other things already. And then that platform allows you to jump to another level.
Wow. Jumping to another level, man, thank you so much. We keep seeing the strides, we keep seeing artists jumping to the next level and them giving testimonies in terms of their success and referencing Magamba Network and the Moto Republic. Continue with the defiance, continue with the programming. The work that you're doing is really, really important. You defied an attempt to close down this space a couple of years ago. And
yes.
2030, Memi Chiripo. Nice. Great. Wow. Thank you so much, Munya. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity to speak to you and hear more about Magamba Cultural Activist Network and the work that you guys are doing.
You're welcome, Plot.
Great. To everybody who's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to know more information, I'm going to put the details there on the screen for you to get in touch with the Moto Republik or Magamba Network and get information about different programs that they're doing, Munya, that he has been talking about. And until next time, remember, it's the Culture Port where we bring you the drivers of the creative and the cultural industry in Zimbabwe. Until next time, I'm out.